This is Hashtag History, episode 75. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this week we are discussing Rodney King, a 25-year-old black man who was captured on video camera on March 3rd, 1991, as he was being beaten viciously by 4 Los Angeles Police Department officers. The review would find that he had been struck over 50 times with a baton, leaving him with fractures to the skull, a broken leg and teeth, bruises, lacerations to the face, a burn wound on his chest from a stun gun, and permanent brain damage. The officers were charged with assault with a deadly weapon and excessive use of force, and after a 3-month-long trial, a nearly all-white jury acquitted the officers. This verdict directly correlated with the start of the 1992 Los Angeles riots and reiterated the racial tension, misconduct, and police brutality many had experienced at the hands of the LAPD. This episode obviously is not a fun episode, but it's an important one. So no witty jokes other than to say I would super love to have a drink in my hand as we talk through this heavy topic.
Yeah, same. I'm happy to oblige.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History,
the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike,
where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
All right, so first and foremost, I'd like to give a huge thank you. We'd like to, not just me, both of us.
I'd like to be included in the thank you note. Thank you. I'd like to sign my name at the bottom.
We'd like to give a huge thank you to Miss Janae Carter,
Yay!
Who is sponsoring this week's episode. You are a true friend of the podcast. We appreciate you.
Yes, thank you so much.
In honor of this week's episode of Rodney King, I wanted to do a simple nod to Mr. King by doing my own spin on the King cocktail.
Ooh.
So it's an actually pretty involved cocktail.
Yeah, it has 100 ingredients.
Yeah, so buckle up. It includes muddled raspberries, Irish whiskey, Aperol, or we substituted with Campari, lemon juice, grapefruit juice, simple syrup, a dash of bitters, and top it off with soda water. We did club soda. I don't know if that makes a difference.
I love everything about that with the exception of the Campari, which did you notice that the bottle of Campari that I brought over was more than half full still?
And I also realized you had poured me an entire mason jar full of it that's in my cupboard.
Did I really?
Yeah. I've never used it.
And that would be where half of my bottle went then because I don't drink it.
Yeah. I realized that after you were here. I opened my cupboard and I was like, that looks like the same color as the bottle she brought.
Oh, it's the same thing. That actually makes more sense to me about I was like, wow, I've had this much Campari. Yeah. We've had this much Campari. Obviously not.
Yeah. So I don't have any puns or jokes just like you, Rachel, or fun facts about the cocktail because plain and simple, I thought it was important for us to really focus on the topic at hand. So let's give it a drink and a rating for our viewers, but then let's get to the deets.
Yes. Cheers.
It's really pretty too.
It's beautiful. There's a dry taste to it. Is it it's the Campari?
Yeah.
It's like you want it to be sweet because it has the raspberry and so many juices and simple syrup in it. But like Campari does, it leaves your mouth with a dry feeling, a dry taste.
I put more simple syrup if it would be better.
I think we've tried that before. I think we have. Like Campari is Campari.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
It's shocking, too, because it has literally a 1/3 ounce of Campari and 100 other ingredients, and somehow that's what I'm tasting.
Yeah,
that's all I taste.
I would say it's not all I taste because I am going to finish the drink. If it was all I could taste... Oh, she made a face like she's not going to. If it was all I could taste, I wouldn't finish the drink. But it is amazing that in a drink that, there are this many ingredients that you topped off with a good amount of soda water.
Yeah.
That the Campari is the one thing that really stands out.
Yeah. It might also be the grapefruit juice. I've never been a grapefruit juice. Is that it?
I actually was just about to say those words. I don't super love grapefruit juice either. So perhaps it's the combination of the two things.
It's too bitter.
Wouldn't this be such a great drink with minus those two ingredients? I mean, everything else sounds amazing.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. It's just whiskey, Irish whiskey, raspberries. I don't know that those two would go together great, but I could be wrong. Yeah, lemon juice, simple syrup, bitters, soda water.
Yeah, maybe you need another juice thrown in there, some kind of raspberry or something. But I mean, it's not horrible because I feel confident that I'm going to finish it.
I will.
Reluctantly.
Reluctantly crouching at the starting line, yearning and burning. He yearns for the turn, and monster trunk force. He's running and running and running on his course. He's going the distance. He's going for speed.
My favorite part of that is the pause before speed. That's how you know.
Yeah.
Your rating.
Pretty low. It's like a 4.
This gets a lower rating than the Bigfoot drink. The
for
coffee one,
sure.
really?
Absolutely. No doubt.
Whoa.
In my mind.
You really hate this one.
Hate is a strong word. I dislike it actively.
Not passively, but actively.
I feel like 5 is my meh, right? That's my have no cares.
Yeah.
If I go below a 5, that means that's me. Every number is a degree of me disliking it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So 4 is like, I dislike you. And then 3 is like, no. 4 is like, I dislike you. And then 3 is like, I hate you.
And then, what's 2?
2 is like, 2 is
Vomit.
2 is the silent treatment. 2 is I hate you so much that I'm not even going to talk to you about it.
You don't exist.
Yep. Oof. Man, wouldn't want to be a 2.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, that was a good rating scale. I think I'm going to put mine at the meh at the 5.
The 5.
I feel the same way about this one that I felt about the Bigfoot drink, that like if it's in front of me, I will drink it, but I won't make it. But you look like you wouldn't even drink it again.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't think I would drink this again.
If I made it for you, if you were at my house and I made it for you, would you finish it?
I would watch
Pour
you make
it down the
it.
sink.
No, I would watch you make it and I would go, no.
I feel like you'd wait for me to go to the bathroom and like drain it.
I mean, I'm never going to waste alcohol. But yeah.
Well, all right. Nah.
There you have it. It's a meh.
It's a meh. It's pretty. Mm-hmm. It is really pretty. All right. Rodney Glenn King was born on April 2nd, 1965 in our hometown of Sacramento, California. He and his siblings were raised in the Los Angeles area. On Sunday, March 3rd, 1991, King and 2 of his friends had just left a mutual friend's house after a night of watching basketball and drinking. They hopped on Interstate 210 in a 1987 Hyundai. Is that how you say Hyundai?
Some people say Hyundai.
I know. That's why I was asking. You are an owner of a... So what do you say?
I say Hyundai accent.
But Nico says Hyundai?
He says Hyundai.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. I mean, really, I think that you know best as an owner.
As an owner, dual owner. I remember. I've had 2 Hyundais. I go back and forth.
Shit. I was counting on you to be the expert. All right, so ignore everything she just said.
Hyundai. A Hyundai.
Hyundai. What did I say at the beginning?
Hyundai?
I don't know what I said. I don't know what I said. Okay. Sucks. There's no consistency here. He was driving a car where Tim and Melanie Singer, a married couple that both worked for the California Highway Patrol, spotted King speeding. This is at about 12:30 a.m. This began a high-speed police chase in which King refused to pull over. He was, at this time, on parole for a robbery conviction following a robbery and assault that he had committed at a convenience store in November of 1989. Given that he was on parole, King attempted to evade the police so that he wouldn't also receive a DUI, a clear violation of the terms of his parole. This police chase became dangerous, with King reaching upwards of 117 miles per hour, flying through residential neighborhoods and running through red lights.
Oh, no.
I know. As the chase escalated, a police helicopter was engaged, as were other police officers, a number of which were from the Los Angeles Police Department, or LAPD. These officers were Theodore Briseno, Stacy Kuhn, Lawrence Powell, Rolando Solano, and Timothy Wind. I think it's worth doing a deep dive into the history of the LAPD one of these days and highlighting some of the major scandals they've been a part of. But as just a brief overview, the LAPD does have a long history of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption, particularly in relation to race. In fact, there is a quote that in the 1960s, the LAPD was outwardly racist. We know of an LAPD chief in the 1920s that was a known KKK member. There are several horrendous stories of police brutality and racial profiling at the hands of the LAPD, particularly in the Mexican-American and African-American communities of Los Angeles. Granted, the O.J. Simpson trial would not take place until a few years after the incident we're talking about today, but I think discussing even that briefly really helps to set the context and perception of the LAPD at this time. As anyone that is familiar with the O.J. Simpson trial knows, LAPD officer Mark Furman became a huge part of that trial, in large part because of the salacious revelations that were made about him that in the years prior to the O.J. trial, so right around the time of the Rodney King incident, Furman was heard on a recording using the N-word a total of 41 times, as well as detailing other violence against Black Americans.
Oh, no.
This is a law enforcement officer, someone that is supposed to serve and protect the community. So naturally, people didn't trust the LAPD. In fact, for those that believe O.J. Simpson did kill Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman and can't understand how he, like, quote unquote, got away with it, it's important to put this all into perspective and understand how much mistrust and misconduct there was in relation to the LAPD, particularly at this time.
Yeah.
And the Rodney King incident would just add to that. Okay, back to the story. The two friends that were in the car with King were ordered to exit the vehicle. Although this is rarely mentioned when hearing about this incident, the two friends were also physically assaulted both before and while they were lying on the ground nearby. According to the officers, King, who was intoxicated, refused to get out of the car at first. When he did get out of the car, he allegedly laughed and made fun of the situation, even looking up at the police helicopter and waving at it. And this is where the beating would begin. Unbeknownst to the officers, a plumbing salesman by the name of George Holliday had overheard the commotion from his apartment and grabbed his video camera to tape the incident from his balcony. The footage captured in this 89 seconds of film would end up changing the world. We aren't going to post the pictures of King's injuries following this assault because they are incredibly graphic and disturbing, but I am going to detail the brutality inflicted upon him here. So if this is triggering for some, please skip ahead by approximately 2 minutes. And actually, before I even get into the details, I need to make this incredibly important note that King was unarmed and he never resisted arrest. He always contended that he never resisted arrest, and there are eyewitnesses that corroborated this account. Now to the details of the assault. From the footage that I have seen a handful of times over the years and from watching it again and analyzing it closely in my research for this episode, you can see King get tasered. You can see the taser wires on his body. You see him attempt to get up from the ground multiple times as the officers bring out their batons and beat him incessantly all over his body. You also see them kick King. Towards the end of the assault, King was handcuffed and dragged along on his stomach to the side of the road as they awaited an ambulance. It's horrendous. This footage also reveals a dozen or so other officers standing around, watching the whole thing, not intervening in any way. Holliday took the footage that he had captured from his apartment balcony to KTLA news station, which became the first news station to show the footage on television. This footage went viral. It was shortly thereafter confiscated by authorities, but not before other news stations had made copies of it and were playing it on national television.
Good.
And this is something really important to note, because I'm glad you said that right there, because without this video footage, what would the legacy of the Rodney King incident have been?
It would have just been another
incident of police brutality.
Yeah, unnoticed police brutality.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the absolutely historical event we now know it to be. And we can sadly say the same about the 2020 murder of George Floyd. Because 17-year-old Darnella Frazier had the bravery to record George Floyd's murder, the world had the opportunity to see the brutality with their own eyes and protest in response.
Hey there. Nice to meet you. I'm Alicia. Do you like history? Are you long on curiosity but short on time? Well, you're in luck. Each week on Civics and Coffee, you'll get a short overview of a person or topic in U.S. history, all in the time it takes to enjoy a cup of coffee. I cover the known and unknown, all in bite-sized episodes. Available wherever you get your pods or at the website civicsandcoffee.com. New episodes released each Saturday. See you soon.
Following the beating, King was transported to the hospital to treat what he alleged as, quote, 11 skull fractures, permanent brain damage, broken bones and teeth, kidney failure, and emotional and physical trauma, end quote. They also took samples of his blood and found that his blood alcohol content was at 0.075%. And I think most people know it's illegal to drive if you have a blood alcohol content of anything over 0.08%. King was later released without charges. The police officers did not have the same fate. Days after the incident, the 4 police officers were charged with assault with a deadly weapon and excessive use of force. Powell and Kuhn would also be charged with falsifying their police reports. Because of the massive public interest and media coverage of the incident, the judge was persuaded to change the venue of the trial from Los Angeles County to Simi Valley. Here, a 12-person jury was compiled consisting of 10 white people, 1 Mexican-American, and 1 Asian-American. In addition to the fact that this is hardly a diverse jury, it's also significant to mention that a handful of these jurors had backgrounds that aligned with law enforcement, with 2 being retired military veterans and another 2 being NRA members. I read a great 1995 article written for the Washington Post by Lou Cannon that I'm going to quote from extensively here. The article, it's called "It Wasn't the Jurors' Fault." So I want to just make sure I give full credit to the author because I'm going to be bringing it up a lot. And we will, of course, as always, have that article cited on our website like we do with our other sources. One of the major points that Cannon makes in the article is that the decision to move the trial from Los Angeles to Simi Valley, quote, compounded the problem, unquote, because those 2 counties still absorb all the same media. They are still getting the same messaging and are still just as consumed by the media coverage. So to say the trial was moved from Los Angeles to Simi Valley on account of the, unlikelihood of a fair trial due to the oversaturation of the media isn't necessarily true. The primary difference, however, between these 2 counties is the diversity. LA was much more diverse, whereas Simi Valley was not. Just as Cannon stated in the article, we know that jurors bring their own personal experiences to the courtroom with them. The residents of Simi Valley, quote, saw police as their guardians. These jurors pulled over for police cars. They could not understand why King ignored the lights and sirens of a California Highway Patrol car and led police on a high-speed freeway chase, unquote. Ultimately, Cannon contends that it was not the jurors' fault that they made the decision they did, but rather the decisions made by the elected officials knowing the lack of diversity, racially, economically, and socially, between the 2 venues. It has also been argued that perhaps just the high publicity of this incident and seeing the footage played on television over and over, and then again watching it over and over during the course of the trial, ultimately desensitized the jury to the brutality.
Yeah.
It is also worth noting that there were a few seconds of footage on the video that this jury saw that the general public had not. The first few seconds of the footage actually show King charging at one of the officers before they began to beat him. So, beating an unarmed man until he's bruised and broken because he attempted to, defend himself justifies what happened to him. That was sarcasm.
Yeah, no, I sensed it.
But with a jury like that in Simi Valley, perhaps this was the thought process.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this decision that the jury made. On April 29th, 1992, after a 3-month-long trial and 7 days of deliberation, the jury acquitted the 4 officers, except for 1 assault charge against Powell that resulted in a hung jury. The world was shocked by the verdict. President George H.W. Bush was quoted as saying in response to the verdict, quote, viewed from outside the trial, it was hard to understand how the verdict could possibly square with the video. Those civil rights leaders with whom I met were stunned, and so was I, and so was Barbara, and so were my kids.
Little Georgie was stunned. That's actually shocking to hear from such
that's why I put his quote in there.
Yeah.
Even he recognizes that justice was not done.
Bush Sr.
Yeah. Within hours of the verdict being read aloud, the 1992 LA riots would begin and would last for 6 days. They would result in injury to nearly 3,000 people, over $1 billion worth of property damages, and death to over 60 people. The National Guard, Army, and Marine Corps were all pulled in to stop the riots. We have the 1992 LA riots on our long list of future topics to cover because I really want to do that incident justice. I actually initially considered combining it with this week's topic because they intertwine so much. Mm-hmm. But each topic, the 1992 LA riots and Rodney King and his legacy, each deserve their own full-length episode. So I guess, just stay tuned for episode 798 of #history when we cover the LA riots.
Yeah, we'll circle back.
We'll circle back, put a pin in it. It was during the LA riots that King, on May 1st, 1992, went on television and begged that everyone get along. He begged for the community to stop the protesting and the fighting and fire setting.
That I feel for him, like, becoming the face of this thing without asking for it, and probably feeling like, oh, I'm not the reason, but like 60 people are dead because of something that I'm going through and something that has happened to me.
Following the criminal trial and acquittal, the United States Department of Justice pursued a civil trial against the police officers. This trial began on February 25th, 1993 in Los Angeles. Contrary to the criminal trial, this jury was more diverse with, drumroll please, 2 Black Americans on the jury.
Oh.
I know. Also, contrary to the criminal trial, Rodney King took the stand himself in the civil trial and came across as a very credible witness, something he hadn't had the opportunity to do in the criminal trial. On April 10th, the jury began their deliberations, and after 6 days, they reached a verdict. In an effort to minimize potential rioting, the judge chose to wait to announce the verdict until 7 a.m. the following morning. And the verdict read that 2 of the officers, Kuhn and Powell, had been found guilty, and that Wind and Briseno had been acquitted. Kuhn and Powell were each sentenced to approximately 2.5 years in prison for a crime that generally carried a sentence of upwards of 7 years. This was clearly a light sentence, and it's apparent that the judge sided heavily with the defense. In his sentencing remarks, the judge stated that it was King that had provoked the attack and that nearly all of the beatings he had received were, quote, not illegal because King was resisting and rolling around on the ground, and breaking bones in resistant suspects is permissible under police policy. Another reason for these light sentences is because the judge believed that the officers had already been treated unfairly due to the massive media attention, the trials they had had to endure, and the fact that they had both lost their jobs.
I'm sorry. You can't hear my eye roll. My eyes roll.
The other 2 officers, although acquitted, would also eventually lose their jobs with the police force. Following the civil suit, King sued the city of Los Angeles and won $3.8 million. Sadly, King would have several run-ins with the law over the next handful of years for offenses such as driving under the influence, hitting his wife with a car, running his car into a house, speeding, and running red lights. King would start his own record label, he would write a memoir, and appear on several television shows such as Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew and Sober House. Interestingly, another show King appeared on was a celebrity boxing show in which King boxed and beat a police officer in 2009. Tragically, on Father's Day in 2012, a 911 call was placed by King's partner, Cynthia Kelly, in which she stated that King had drowned in the family pool. He was only 47 years old. When an autopsy was performed, it was found that a combination of alcohol, cocaine, and PCP had likely contributed to the drowning. What is extra heartbreaking just to me personally is that his partner that I just mentioned, Cynthia Kelly, was someone King had actually met after she served as a juror in his civil trial.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? I don't have a good answer. Immediately following the assault of Rodney King, a commission called the Christopher Commission was formed to analyze the LAPD and determine what all they were doing wrong and how it could be fixed. The commission found a significant number of officers used excessive force beyond that was permitted under the department guidelines, and that LAPD management allowed for these officers to go unchecked. And in some cases, not only did they not hold these officers accountable, but some of them were also promoted or otherwise rewarded for their behavior. This commission further found that there were 1,800 officers that had allegations of excessive use of force. 1,800. And that of those 1,800, 183 of them had 4 or more excessive use of force allegations against them. One particular officer had 16 excessive use of force allegations on their record. And yet, these were still the officers that were generally praised and rewarded despite these complaints. Less than a third of the recommendations the Christopher Commission made were actually implemented. The LAPD would continue to be involved in further scandals to the point where they were all but forced to enter into a consent decree with the U.S. Department of Justice.
How embarrassing for them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the DOJ essentially said, like, you enter into this consent decree with us, or we shut you down and we run the LAPD.
Yeah.
Because this is disgusting.
Yeah.
This decree was established in 2001, so not super long ago, following the Rampart scandal, a scandal in which more than 70 officers were found to have been involved in planting and covering evidence, stealing drugs and dealing drugs, excessive use of force, perjury, robbery, and more. And just a side note, we have to add the Rampart scandal to our long list of future topics to cover now.
Yeah.
The purpose of this decree was to essentially change the culture of the LAPD. After 12 years, this decree was finally lifted in 2013. Looking back on the Rodney King incident and looking at today, sometimes it's hard to see progress, especially in looking back at this last year. But in looking back at this last year, we know and can confidently say that it was the murder of George Floyd, amongst others, that ignited a fire in Americans. And I'm comfortable saying that that is because George Floyd's death was caught on camera, just as Rodney King's beating was caught on camera. Both of these incidents, caught on camera, changed the world. I wanted to end this episode with a quote from Mr. King. When asked if he had forgiven the officers that had assaulted him, he said, "Yes, I've forgiven them, because I've been forgiven many times. This country is my house. It's the only home I know, so I have to be able to forgive." Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of #History.
All sources used to put together this episode can be found on our website at #history-pod.com.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use, share about us with your family and friends, and then give us a rate and review.
And be sure to check us out on Instagram. You can follow us there at #history_podcast. And you can also follow us on TikTok at #history, all one word. We're also on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, we're on Twitter.
I always forget to mention that.
It's #history_. Because #history is apparently taken. #_history is taken. #history_podcast is too long. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's why we don't go on there.
Yes, dumb.
For
Can't have
that
the name
reason.
we want.
And then also come over and join us on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply. You also get access to behind the scenes content, weekly #hangout episodes, and then we also mail you cards and stickers.
Fun stuff.
It's fun stuff. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Yeah, I did.
Okay, let's do this.
I'm saving my raspberries a reward at the end. That's my treat for getting through the drink.
Yeah, that was probably smart.
Okay. Speeding. Also receive a DIU.
Oh, that's a DUI.
So that he wouldn't also receive 107. Oh my god. Oh, you probably heard that on the mic. I'm gonna have to start that again. Okay. On the mic, my throat did its thing. Oh, that sound. So I'll do that again.
I'm looking forward to hearing that. I can feel you needing to burp.
I know. It's because of the soda water. You can feel it, huh?
It's more your body language. It's more your body language than like yeah.
I know.
You look like you know someone who's holding food, but
the other way. But the other way. Okay, I'm sorry I keep interrupting this episode, but I can see that both Alex and my mom have sent me the same post from Super Taco on Instagram. Both of them sent it to me within the last 30 minutes of each other. I have to breathe.
Yeah,
I'm not breathing. Is compounded. I keep not breathing. And
yeah, that was rough. But thank you for sharing.
Sure. Sure, you're welcome. All right, the next episode's more fun.